Hi, I am John Stevens. I'm pastor of Zion Lutheran Church in Oregon City, Oregon, and we're part of the ELCA. And welcome to Dollar Store Children's Sermons, where we take a look at the lectionary text and we tie them to an item from the Dollar Tree, or the garage, or the kids' room, or the junk drawer. You know, one of those things. I am so glad you're here, and this is for the Revised Common Lectionary. And we're looking at really a little bit of all of the texts. I've got springboards upon springboards. I'm thinking about the first lesson, first reading of the Ten Commandments, or as Godly Play calls it, a better way. Just a wonderful, So the springboard, I'm looking at that, is either a list of rules that make sense to you, that you read these and go, I could see that. It's like at a swimming pool. No running. It's for a better way. It's for a reason. You run in a swimming pool, you slip, you hit your head. Been there. So there's that. Or a time where you have been taught a better way of doing something. My grandmother and I used to cook a lot in the kitchen, and so I would learn, like in jam making or canning, a better way of doing something. My mom and I make candy during the Christmas season, and we talk a lot about better ways of doing things. Hey, I'm doing it this way, and when you dip the chocolate, make sure that it's not too hot. And it's a better way of doing it, and what ends up happening is you get a better piece of hand-dipped chocolate. Yeah. So this idea that the better way that God gives God's people is the Ten Commandments list this out. These are a better way to live life. And it changes it from finger shaking, do this or else, and here, let me share this with you. The people of God who've just been set free, they no longer have to work 7 days a week. They get a day of rest. They don't have to worship 1,000 gods. There's one God. They actually have stuff, where I've got stuff now and my neighbor has stuff, and I'm not to covet. I'm not to want their stuff. All of these things about how they live life with God and with one another, and it's a better way. So that's the springboard, telling a story on that. The gospel lesson, the gospel lesson, it depends on your setting and things like that, but a story that I'm thinking about is, here's Jesus. It's one of the few times we see Jesus get upset into the point of turning over tables, and, it's startling to talk about that there are times that we get upset for a good reason. When we experience racism, we experience someone being told that they can't preach the gospel because they're a female. There are reasons why, and looking, it's like, and kids have I won't say an innate. I'm thinking about my daughter Oriah when she was younger, and actually even now in high school. There's a point where the sense of justice is so strong. The idea that when someone is treated badly for either sexual orientation, color of your skin, ableism, all of those, it really, it drives her to act, and it is a trying to think of the word. She becomes a leader for me, and so this of looking at what are things that God calls us to stand up and speak out for, and who does God call us to lift up? So, and you could talk with that. Back to a better way. In Godly Play, there's the wonder question, and you could address it. I wonder what Jesus would want to change in our lives, where Jesus would say, you need to look at this. this is all springboard stuff. The second reading, I'm moving on to the second reading. And the second reading, Paul talks about the cross and about how the cross, I think of the hymn, the old rugged cross, the image of suffering and shame, where God takes the cross, the image of the cross, and transforms it. That for those who believe, the cross is life-giving. So, this is actually, I haven't used a Dollar Tree item for a long time. And this is the Dollar Tree item that I'm going to use. And when I first saw it, years ago, it's been around for a number of years. And when I first saw it, I was like, this is ridiculous. I cannot believe this. It's like that righteous, but tied to this text, it changes how I saw this item completely. And that item is a chocolate cross. Yeah. And when I first saw it, I'm like, oh, really? What a way to change the cross. And I was like, when I ran into this text, I'm like, exactly, what a way to change the cross. That it completely changes how we see it. That God takes this cross, this instrument of death, and how we talk about that with the kids, it varies. But that God takes the cross, which Jesus dies on, and we see the cross because of that as an image of life and grace and of grace. And so I'm looking at this about how, because this is, when I first saw it, I was like, this is silly. Exactly. And so using that as the springboard, looking at the second reading, where Paul talks about the cross, and it is, there's something there. So, all right, so those are a couple of springboards for the Revised Common Lectionary, all three texts, looking at it. And thank you so much for being a partner in this ministry with me. Thanks for walking along. You are rocking it. We have been in this for so long. And by in this, I mean the pandemic. About some of us can worship in person, some of us can't. We're not yet. And so we're doing everything online. Know that you are rocking it. And I know that there's points where you get so tired. And know that there's someone out there, me, praying for you. That God wraps God's arms around you and pours peace and grace into your heart. So, here we are. If you have not been, I'm in my office actually today. My boss, the church admin, is out, and so I'm here, and I'm in my office. And if you haven't seen me in my office, what's behind me is what I call my hell door, and it's all Far Side hell cartoons. There's a couple here and here and here that have fallen down over when it got extremely cold, the ice storms. But anyway, it's a bit of joy for me to record this from my office. Anyway, peace be with you, and we will see you next week.